Hello, everyone. You've made it to the final evening of Out of the Box 2015. Can you feel the energy? It's electric, like our machines. I'm so grateful to be part of what is, at the same time, the end of 3 days of incredible journey of conversation and presentation and laughter and a little bit of tears every now and then. I got emotional. And I see Scott Guglielmino giving me the devil horns in the back, so I feel inspired right now. My name is Amy, and I am part of the La Marzocco team and family in North America in Seattle. And I'm grateful to be part of a conversation that we've been having for 3 days. It's been a conversation in this room, it's been a conversation in the 3 different rooms around here, and it's continued. And we've talked about innovation, we've talked about you saw prototypes the first day of all the different machines that we're working on. We also talked today, Matt Perger gave us a pretty interesting conversation about what's happening tomorrow and challenging us to think about it. And I want to thank him because at the end of the conversation, we all left the room and we were talking. We were moved, we were passionate to have a conversation about our own thoughts about what was happening in that conversation that he had with us. But I also want to thank Stefania Martelli from ProRaso for talking to us in a very simple and beautiful way about what it means to focus on the dignity that ProRaso gives to barbers, the dignity that La Marzocco gives to the artisan, to the barista, to the artisans that make our machines by hand. And so both of those elements have challenged all of us to have these conversations. And I am working on a very important project in Seattle with the radio station KEXP. And we are working on this project that's going to open next year. And that project is going to be coffee service at its core. It's going to be a true artisan cafe, a permanent location for this cafe experience that we've created. But it's also going to be a moment for us to talk about our history and our legacy. It's going to be a place to talk about the home machines, the home equipment that we've created. But it's also going to be a place to continue these several conversations that we have. Out of the Box happens every 2 years, which is so sensational, and the 700 people that have come through our doors over the last 3 days, it's pretty incredible. But we want to create a home where beyond that 700 people, we can reach out to anyone and we can say, here's coffee in Italy. We all think about coffee and we think about espresso, but we don't know what coffee is like in Italy till we go. Here's coffee in Norway, here's coffee in Australia, here's coffee in Peru. We're creating a space at the new KEXP home that will create a permanent place for all of this conversation that we've had, which I'm incredibly honored and excited to share with all of you. We're mostly excited about this partnership because we are partnering with the radio station KEXP. They have been championing music and exposing people in Seattle, but also the world, to music for the last almost 5 decades. And it was KEXP that our very own John, Kent, and Joe were listening to in 1978, 1979, and 1980 when they were waiting for the phone to ring in Seattle to sell a La Marzocco machine. They were waiting to say, try this machine, we'll sell it to you, we'll import it, and we'll also maintain it. They were developing this business, and the radio station that was playing was KEXP. So it's incredible to come to this point where we've both grown up in Seattle. La Marzocco grew up in Seattle in the States, KEXP grew up since the 70s. And the people at KEXP are passionate. I think that there's no question that the people in this room are passionate. We are Italian at our core. Italian is the same word in the dictionary for passionate. And so the people at KEXP are just as passionate about music. They bring to us so much new music that we get to share. If you're in Seattle listening on the radio, if you're in anywhere in the world and you have access to internet, you're listening to it. And there's few people more passionate than John Richards, who's our speaker tonight. We're so grateful to have John with us. His passion is shown in the fact that every single morning, he is the morning show DJ. He gets up and he rides his bike to work in the dark. And he gets to work and he puts on a radio show for what we call the Morning Faithful. Every single day, Monday through Friday, he's there delivering music to the Morning Faithful. And John's also passionate about coffee. Our connections just continue and continue. And John's passionate about coffee. And he once told me this story that it moved me to tears in the moment of us talking about it. But he very simply brought his mom, who was visiting Seattle, to his favorite coffee shop. He wanted to expose her to coffee in Seattle. And the barista behind the counter made the drinks. And as he presented the drinks to John and his mother, the barista behind the counter said, "Mrs. Richards, your son plays my band on the radio. Your coffee's on me." And it's this sense of community that inspires all of us, no matter what we do. If we're trying to change tomorrow, if we're trying to just make a good cup of coffee, if we're trying to have a nice engagement with another human being at a coffee shop, it's community. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you KEXP, Where the Music Matters.
Well, music saved my life. It truly saved my life. I was 15, rough time. Like you're 15, you're in high school, you're trying to figure out who you are. Well, my brother starts sending me this awesome music, on these mixtapes. It spoke to me because it was something different. So I started just diving into it, and it brought me joy, and it was amazing to see performers on stage making this great music. And all of a sudden, life didn't seem too bad. And I listened to the radio all the time. And I saw a DJ in the booth, putting a song in, choosing the song, putting it in, and then dancing, going crazy, freaking out, smiling, like pumping their fists. Then got on the air, introduced the song, and that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to do that. I'm John Richards, host of The Morning Show. Thank you so much for tuning in and getting emails in all over the world already this morning. A ton of local music to get to, as always.
The greatest radio station in Seattle, and maybe even throughout the nation, playing independent music, is KEXP.
And a request going out to one of the Morning Faithful out there having a birthday today, Mike, the big 3-0. 3-0.
Part of what makes the Northwest music scene so great is part of its location. You're outside the influence of a lot of the mainstream, and it really has allowed the music scene to develop in its own sort of organic fashion.
Grunge can't happen again, that's for sure. I mean, you had the perfect storm. You had, literally, it's terrible outside here. It rains all the time, and people were listening to metal and classic rock. And nobody knew Seattle existed. It still was very hidden. It was a logging town full of serial killers. I mean, it was just, there was nothing going on. They were hidden, they were alone, isolated. That happened. But it's changed, I would say, for the better. It's actually not just one scene, one sound. It is a huge scene. It's expanded to every kind of music you could ever want to hear. Alt country, electronica, hip-hop is blowing up here. Rock continues to be very, very strong. Singer-songwriter, jazz. There's amazing musicians in this city. Hey, guys. Hey.
Regular listeners and from BECU.
It's 90.3 KEXP. Pickwick is here. Everybody on 3. Hello. 1, 2, 3. Hello. That's a lot of Pickwick here in the studio. Pickwick's live here on 90.3, listener-powered KEXP.
Oh, I know I'm gonna sing. To a name, I'm wearing a long dress with borrowed hair that I'm combing.
We want to liberate everybody from bad music.
But it's something never be. Don't stay with me until it's down to me.
It's a revival in here. Jesus, someone's going to get healed. The scene is the most cohesive scene I've ever seen, anywhere.
You think I'm selfish, exist only to wish on stars. You think I'm selfish, exist only to wish on stars. Tell me, who do you think you are?
I listened to the songs more times than I can count, and every time I hear something new, and you just can't say more about an album. Every time it's like discovering it again.
Thank you.
The new album, Black Up, is out today, and plenty of opportunities to see the band this week here in Seattle.
At our high point, we were getting about 1 million downloads just for the song of the day in a month. In fact, KXP was the first station to put out a music podcast. Love your remix, guy in England listening where it's 3 in the afternoon. Tyler here is from Wisconsin, another England, a bone-tired person in Washington, D.C. Tim is in Nebraska where it's 1,000 degrees. Paris, you'll get Moscow, you'll get Australia where it's, I don't know, tomorrow. Here's Aaron in San Mateo, just came in. Let's hear some Cut Copy, Need You Now. We can do that right now.
And this request just got seconds ago. This is Cut Copy, Need You Now on 90.3.
Kevin Cole with you. Welcome to the afternoon show. Coming up later on in the show, a live performance from Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. And this is some more new local music, the Blue Scholars. This is cool. This is the first Fleet Foxes record. This came out in 2006, and they just dropped off a CDR that's handwritten with a Sharpie on it of like 4 songs. And that happens a lot to us where bands, like Nirvana did that. Kurt Cobain dropped off a single, knocked on the back door of the station. An hour later he called and he's like, why haven't you played my song yet?
How I remember it, around 2004, KXP started playing the Blue Scholars. And I think, from my knowledge, that was kind of the first time that any local radio had really pushed the independent hip-hop artists in Seattle. So that changed things. It opened up the door for artists like myself and a bunch of others.
Under that light rain, beaming in that night game. Can't stop now, keep moving, no break paths. Came here to prove a point, live my life on the field, make history in between the base path, and compete against the fear that is in me. That's my only barrier, and I swear that I'ma break that. From the mud, the cleats that we trod through the feet, this is that moment, you cannot take it back.
A big part of the reason why we're able to go outside of Seattle and for people to know us is because of KXP. And pretty much all major metropolitan cities that we go to, somebody's like, oh, I heard you on KXP in New York City or LA or San Francisco. So we love you guys and appreciate everything that you do for us.
Now when I say 2-0, you say, nah, you know the rest. This is our scene, our music, our movement, the history lives through us. I write to the beat and let light play the guitar strings. Every time somebody steps out on the road, they bring a little Northwest soul with them, amen. All right.
The video is very helpful in just in case you haven't already heard of KEXP, you get to learn about it. And if you happen to pick up on it already, these lights that we have here on the back of our stage tonight is a testament to the live room that they have at the KEXP studio. And the room is half the size of this stage, and they fit 14 people in a band in there. They fit 3 videographers, and they fit a DJ. And they do more than 500 a year. And so they expose people not only on the radio, but they also expose people to new music through all of these videos that they get to do. And the La Marzocco showroom at KEXP will do the same thing for coffee. We can't do 500 different coffee roasters a year because we want the coffee roasters to actually do a roaster in residence program where they'll do a month at a time. But still exposing to Seattle to 12 roasters a year from around the world will be something that we can align ourselves with KEXP and how they expose people to music. So please help me in welcoming Mr. John Richards to the stage.
Thank you, Amy, very much for getting me to travel halfway around the world to be with you all today. And Marta, thank you as well. You've been amazing. She deserves a round of applause for this event. And I'm the right speaker to go last because I often speak in front of a bunch of drunks with drums next to me and smoke coming out. So I'm your guy. So it is an honor to be here tonight and here in this city, and as part of this event to talk about KEXP. Really quick, you saw the Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. That's just one example of what we do at KEXP. When Macklemore finished his record with Ryan, They called my show at about 7:30 in the morning. My first question was, why are you up at 7:30 in the morning? My next was, what's going on? They said, we finished this record. We're calling it The Heist. We want to just bring it by and announce it on your show if that's cool. I said, no, and I feel no. I said yes, and they came up to the station, and we debuted the record, and then later he performed it for the first time. They performed it the first time on KXP. That happens all the time. The Kurt Cobain story is true. Kurt Cobain finished his record, his 7-inch. He came to the station. He borrowed a car. He dropped it off, knocked on the door. I'm Kurt Cobain. Will you play this? And they didn't, so he got on a payphone, called the station, and requested his own band. And thank God that DJ played it. So we were the first station to ever play Nirvana. So that happens all the time. Now, to learn more about why La Marzocco is going to be in our home, you have to learn a little bit about KEXP and our history. So the station started 40 years ago, same kind of story where people got together and they wanted to create something different. They wanted to create a place for music. That happened on the University of Washington campus, and they started playing really terrible music, and that changed. It got really good really quick because Seattle's music scene was exploding in the 80s. So as the 80s and grunge happened, the station started to change. It started to play the bands that would break through later. And some of our DJs included your Mudhoney members, your Soundgarden members, your different Sub Pop. Jonathan Poneman, who started Sub Pop, he was one of our DJs as well. So the station became the center of music in Seattle very early. So as the station started to grow and as grunge started to take off, the station started to take off. And the other thing that our station did was put the music in the hands of the DJs. Not one DJ at my station has ever been told what to play, ever. And that's different elsewhere. And while that station was growing, corporations took over the rest of the dial. I don't know how it is over here, but in our country, corporations stole the dial from us, from the people. And they dumbed it down. And they will only broadcast to a certain few. And we disagree with that. So this little station at 4,000 watts compared to a 100,000 watt station decided to do something about it. And that's champion music even more. Bring more DJs in, be more a part of our community. Now you can't do that without funding. So when the station started to realize we need money, we were very lucky to have a man named Paul Allen in our city who donated a few $1 million of seed money to help us build. So we built from that and moved off campus, and we ended up where we are now, where you saw all those great shots. And we've been there for the last 15 years, I think. Personally, I've been there half my life. So I grew up at the station along with all of this happening. I was a music fan. You know how I got on the air? It was hard work, it was dedication, and it was because no other DJ was showing up to their shift. So I learned right away to be listening to the station, so when they went off the air, to come to the station and turn the station back on. That was my trick to becoming a good DJ. So I was at a party one night, I heard the station turned off, and I had my buddy drop me off there and said, let's turn this back on. And I got on the air and I said, we'd been off the air for a while, and I said, hey, if anyone's listening, make a request. The phone started ringing off the hook, and I realized something that night at 2 in the morning, half drunk on the air. Don't drink before you get on the air is the first thing. But the next thing was, people would rather listen to dead air on my station than listen to what else is going on the rest of the dial. And from there, I realized the passion of our listenership was totally committed. It was insane, and people wanted to be a part of it. So what we did is, we moved to this new home. We became self-sufficient over a few years. We decided that putting the power of music in our DJ's hands was vital to our successes. We also decided to reach out beyond our music community. So my station has raised millions of dollars for other nonprofits. We're a nonprofit that relies on people donating KXP, but then we, in turn, support other organizations, and we've probably raised millions of dollars for all kinds of organizations. We team with Starbucks already, and we do these shows called Little Big Shows that have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for our community. And we also raise money for Children's Hospital. Millions of dollars have been raised that way. I mean, you're talking about a station that is non-commercial, working our asses off to raise money all the time. I'm on the air asking for support all year round. And people get behind it and they support it because they believe in it. And they don't believe in it because there's a list of things that we do. I could tell you about the hundreds of thousands of downloads of our podcast, the hundreds of millions of views of our YouTubes. That's not why people donate. People donate and listen to KEXP because they believe in what we're doing, and they believe in music, and they believe in community. And we're one of the only places is willing to talk about that. Like, you can get behind this and know you're supporting the arts, you're supporting music, and in the future, you'll be supporting companies that have moved into our new space. So we have worked very hard and tirelessly to make sure our listeners believe in what we're doing, and that can't be said enough about KEXP. When we talk about where we've been and where we're going, we're in a space right now that is about the size of our space that La Marzocco will be in, and other businesses as well that are like-minded and will be a part of what KEXP is trying to make. And you can't miss us. We're going to be on the Seattle Center campus where the Space Needle is. I know you all have at least seen the Space Needle. Think of it as our antenna, because that's where we're going to be every day broadcasting, while these businesses around us, these like-minded businesses, will also be championing what it is that they believe in. So there's a reason this all came together. My friend Denise here from the station is going to talk about it in a little bit. But the station never rests when it comes to its belief in music. We produce more content than ever. We produce, like what was said, 500,000 or 500 in studios a year, 500,000 downloads easily of those in-studio performances. And to discover bands, we not only wait for Macklemore and Ryan Lewis or Kurt Cobain to show up, but the first time of Monsters and Men were played, they were played in Reykjavik. So our station travels to Reykjavik every year, and we champion Icelandic bands. And the first time you ever see of Monsters and Men, they were with KEXP. We went to New York. The first time Phanogram ever were on the radio or played was on my show because we loved it. They didn't need a label or a release for us to play it. When the Lumineers were played for the first time, I learned something very important that day. I was sitting in my office at 4:30 in the morning, trying to stay awake. There's a reason I'm an expert on coffee, by the way. I get up at 4 every day. I'm a Seattle DJ. I am the foremost expert in coffee in all of Seattle. You could hire me. And I'm sitting there having my coffee, and this Lumineers demo is sitting there, and I just had a feeling. I put it in and I played it. They had this song that was so catchy. So when I played it on the air, it's only 2.5 minutes long, I decided to play it a second time in a row. Because don't you do that? Like, you love a song, you're like, well, I'm going to play it again. Especially when I'm running. I'll play the same damn song 15 times like a crazy person, just motivating me to keep going. So I played it twice, and part of the reaction was, oh my God, I love this song. The second was, you played it twice. And I thought, so? Nobody ever does that. Radio doesn't do that. I thought, wow, we are so stuck in the way radio is presented that we can't even play a song 2 times. So that sort of set off a chain reaction. The Lumineers got a ton of play elsewhere, and it kind of blew up. And so that's KEXP's story. When you champion music like you do, when you trust your DJs like you do, when you only answer to your listeners, your customers, however you want to look at it, then you can take chances and do these things that KEXP do and does every day. So the list goes on and on and on about the bands who will come by and be championed here on KEXP. So when we move forward into this new home, we are going to be able to do more of that. We're going to be able to champion bands and music like never before. And we're going to be able to champion businesses around us, bands around us, the community around us. And we hope that spreads all over the world, and stations like ours start to grow and start to change the way music is presented. And one of the other things we do is we power ourselves with a lot of coffee. So we will be very strong in the future with our... I have a view of La Marzocco from my booth. So we've already decided there will be a button that I can push at all times, and the coffee comes to us. So we're looking forward to it. We are $12.2 million into our $15 million campaign. That is a big deal. Thank you. You can go to kexp.org and donate anytime. kexp.org, new home. It's no problem. You can be in another country. We have, by the way, people who donate in 100 different countries around the world. We have people who donate from all 50 states. I'm not just saying that so you'll donate. I'm just saying it's a fact. So we will be hopefully broadcasting there on December 9th, and we hope to open to the community in April, and we cannot wait to be a part of people's lives in an even bigger way. So I hope you will get behind that. And we have our COO here, Denise, who's going to talk more about the new home and our partnership.
Hi, thank you. So my name's Denise Burnside, and I am lucky enough to be KEXP's COO. And for the past few years, I have been focusing a lot of my time working on taking the vision of people like John and the creative folks that we have, and I work hard to try to take their vision and make it a reality. So with our new home, as you can hear from John, KEXP has really big vision, really big dreams of not just being a radio station. We are a radio station, but we want to be an arts organization. We are an arts organization, and we support musicians, the music community, and we support the creativity of the people that play that music, our curators. And we wanted to create a space in which that community could really come together. We wanted to take ourselves as a radio station and turn ourselves inside out. So with these big dreams and this big vision, we sat down and we talked about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to become. And we really talked about creating this open space. Like John said, like a big room like this in which day to day it is open. People come in not just to see one of these amazing performances that we do, but to pop in at any time, at any moment, to have an experience with the community that we foster, that we care about, and that makes us passionate, and that feeds our energy. The musicians feed our energy. The people that love the music feed our energy, and we want to give back. So in this new home, with this grand vision, we couldn't just have a big open space with nothing going on. So literally the first thing we thought about was coffee. I mean, coffee and music, Seattle, coffee and music. I mean, there was no fucking choice, basically. We needed coffee. So we knew we needed that. We knew we wanted a stage. We took our DJ booth, which is, in a back corner right now, and we literally are putting it out in this gathering space. John will be protected by a soundproof wall, but it'll have these giant glass windows in which he literally gets to be a part of what's going out in front of us in this gathering space. We have a stage, we're putting couches and chairs, like kind of comfy seating, tables, chairs, and we're working on having also food and beverage, so alcohol also goes very well with music. And a record shop. So we're working on this multi-dimensional partnership, but all in a very open setting. So let's come back to the coffee, because really that was the linchpin that we knew we had to have that. So 3 years ago, I started venturing out and talking to coffee community members. And honestly, at first, some people that we were quite close with and working with thought we were too starry-eyed, and they did not believe if we built it that they would come. They, were like, I don't know about that. And then I met La Marzocco. I met Joe and I met Whitney. That was our first meeting. And I was there with my coworker, Carol, and we started talking about KEXP and KEXP's vision. And of course, as you hear from Amy, Joe knows KEXP. But he knows it from his own personal experience. He, in fact, even now wakes up with John and enjoys coffee in the morning. That's how Joe starts his day. But I started, talking about just not the vision of KEXP, but this grand vision of what we were going to do in the new space. And he lit up. We immediately had a much longer meeting than we intended to, and just started really getting into the idea of it and really getting excited about it. So I was all pumped up, and I come back to the station, and I'm telling them all about La Marzocco, and they do these community events. They foster their community. People are at the center of La Marzocco, and how excited Joe was about the things that they do in their Ballard warehouse, that they bring people in and they have these events where people share the type of new creative things that they're doing with coffee, the way they're doing pour-overs, or I don't know coffee well except I like it, but all these different things that you people are creating and that you're passionate about. That's what Joe was going on and on about, and I got so excited. And luckily, everyone at KEXP got really excited too. So 3 years later, La Marzocco is about to start construction on their new cafe. And I have to say, I am just thrilled and excited about the entirety of this project and to have this partnership with La Marzocco. And I am grateful that they brought on Amy. I got to meet Marta and the many people that I met while I was here these last few days. And we're opening in April 2016, and I am excited for all of you that could come for the grand opening,
Yes,
April 16th.
Yeah, everyone's invited. Everyone's invited.
But we'll be there every day, open and welcoming you, asking you to come and have an experience, both with coffee and with music, and we hope that you become part of our community. Thank you.
I'm sure you have no questions because whatever, it's easy. Yeah, music, coffee. But I'll start with a question, and if you think about a question that you have for KEXP, you raise your hand. Maybe we'll have lights and I can see you. If not, I've got really great vision with my glasses.
Well, and I just personally want to say, I'm really excited what La Marzocco is doing, and I don't know if you guys all understand the kind of the depth that they're diving into in this cafe.
So, it is very hard, it was at one time very hard to describe to someone what we are doing at La Marzocco with KEXP. I have a 10-page paper that I could hand you on all the things that we want to do, and it is still edited, and it doesn't really tell you all the things that we plan to do. It sounds ambitious. It sounds crazy. It sounds long-winded, but we wouldn't be La Marzocco if we weren't like, yeah, we're going to do everything. No one can tell us otherwise. We're going to do it. Doesn't exist? We'll make it. So they wanted coffee. And we can make coffee. We can create this. If anyone can create a platform of expression with different machines and different talented human beings from around the world who can come and make coffee, we got you. We can make you coffee. The neighborhood can have coffee. But we can also turn this into a place where you can come and you can experience the La Marzocco story. So we have almost 90 years of history. And that's what makes us La Marzocco. So you can come and you can experience that. You can experience home equipment, which is something that if you aren't part of this very special coffee community, you can learn how to make coffee on home machines, which takes this amazing equipment from your favorite coffee shop and puts it into your home. And we'll have a whole wall dedicated to coffee enthusiasts being able to engage with our coffee home equipment. But it'll also be a platform of expression for all of you in this room. As much as we're going to be telling our story, we're going to be telling your story. So whatever it is, if you are making coffee and you are a small artisan person that doesn't even have their own coffee shop, but you happen to be someone who's got great ideas and is passionate about the coffee that you're making, we're going to give you a platform to share that with people. If you are a very large coffee endeavor, if you're a large coffee roaster or store and you have hundreds of stores and you have it down pat and you're so good at what you do, we're going to give you 1 month to say, don't think beyond this 1 month. Just have this one platform with us. You're going to have 4 weeks, 5 weeks, where you get to be at the La Marzocco showroom at KEXP, and you get to share with us your coffee experience. So maybe there's an experience that they can't share because it doesn't fit into the hundreds of cafes. And there's also going to be international partners. It's so fascinating now to talk with our different international partners and think about the logistics of getting their coffee to us in Seattle. But we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to fill out all the paperwork we need to fill out, and we're going to get the coffee from the far reaches of the world to our home in Seattle and expose that to everyone who's there.
Yeah, the other thing, too, if you're not familiar with where we're building this, you may not be, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it even near it. People don't have a place like this to go where we're going right now. And when you walk in, I got to just repeat what Denise said. You're going to walk into an experience where you will be there. We will have bands playing in that room at times. If not, the broadcast is happening. You get your coffee. You learn about coffee. You can get a record at the record store. You can get food. Later, the bar will be open in that area as well. It's never been done before. And I like to think of Seattleites walking into that building and being very proud. But what really gets me are the tourists who are going to come walking into that room. And that's going to be their Seattle experience. You couldn't get more Seattle. You could park a Boeing jet maybe in there, have a bunch of Seahawks run around, which would be awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. That would be pretty fucking sweet.
We can do that.
What we're going to give tourists as well, people who visit our city, that's going to be their experience, and this is going to be part of it along with the music that we put out every day. I mean, obviously you can see our excitement, but I hope you can make it to Seattle after April. Don't come before April, but that's when we're opening.
So my first question that I have is, you guys have a live room. This feels awkward. You're standing so far away from me, but I have a pretty kick-ass drum set behind me, so I feel comfortable here. You guys have a live room where listeners get to come and they can experience a band that's performing in the live room. How do you think you can relate that to what our guests will experience where they come to the La Marzocco showroom at KEXP and they experience coffee?
That's a good question. The thing I've learned so much here is just how much doesn't just go into the coffee, but goes into the machine, obviously, right? When you're a coffee consumer, you're drinking a lot of coffee, you're not necessarily thinking about that, and now I have a whole different view of that. At KEXP, when you come in and see the studios, you're gonna see all the guts. You're gonna see everything that goes into it. You're gonna see the band coming in and warming up, you're gonna be a part of that. You're gonna see the engineer engineering. You're gonna see the DJ DJing. You're gonna see this band creating. And then afterwards, you're gonna actually talk with the band, see the band, talk with the employees at KEXP, and maybe learn something along the way. That's how I see it. I just think you're getting a piece of performance and creativity that you wouldn't necessarily get. That's what I've learned so much here this weekend. And that's how I see that live room happening. Because we're talking 75 people are probably going to be able to come into every session that we have. And you are in the building, in the guts of KEXP, and you have no choice but to learn. It's like being here. You are stuck. You are seeing it in all of its glory. So I think that's what you're going to see.
Awesome. I have another question. Why do you think that KEXP is able to be as successful as it is in Seattle in a way that no one else has been able to do this? Because we have people here, employees of La Marzocco, who have known KEXP, and then we say, hey, by the way, we're working with KEXP. They're like, I've been listening to KEXP for 15 years. We have people who are, say, from around the world who have always been listening to KEXP. And it's different. It's different than any other radio station you've ever heard of. So why is Seattle able to do that? And how come no one else has been able to do that?
Well, we've been trying to answer that for a long time, and I think it's partly why coffee culture and music culture happen in Seattle as well. First off, it rains all the goddamn time. So people need an escape. We are constantly looking for ways indoor to enjoy ourselves. And there's many ways to do that, including coffee and music. So part of it is just the environment in which we live. The other thing is pride in community. Seattle has a lot of pride. If you meet us Seattleites, we have a lot of pride in our city. And that means we have a lot of pride in those things that we think represent our city. And so KEXP has always been something that people have felt very passionate about because it represents their city. So you can look at our sports teams, you can look at even the companies in Seattle, and there is this love of the city. And then the other thing is the giving. We're a nonprofit. We raise millions of dollars every year. I get on the air and I probably raised $15 to $20 million just asking on the air. That's not easy to do, but when you have people like Seattleites especially who like to give, who take pride in giving, the city attracts more of that. So it's a very, very giving city. All the numbers you see are how Seattle supports nonprofits. So without that, there would be no station. If there weren't people, if there weren't the little kid who gives his allowance up to Paul Allen giving millions of dollars, there would never be a station. So it's that pride in their community, I think, that has kept us on the air.
Do any of you lovely people have a question? Are any of you brave enough to ask a question? Or all you thinking about is booze and music?
It's booze and music.
Booze and music?
It's not a question.
Any questions?
Except when is booze and music?
Did I see an arm? I don't know if it's cheersing or an arm. I'm gonna wait a long time. I've got all night. You have a question? No. No. Okay, well.
Thank you for having us.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.